Welcome to the I Do Crew podcast with Jen and Emma. This week we're talking all things personalisation. So all that we ask is you like, subscribe, rate and review our podcast on the platform that you listen or watch us on. We really need that support and appreciate all of you every single week. So thank you so much for being here this week. Wedding personalisation, Em. How
I
did you
know.
personalise your wedding?
Well, if you'd have asked me that a little while ago, I'd have said, oh, not very much. But actually, since thinking about this episode, I did quite a lot. And I think it's quite easy to personalise your wedding. It just needs a little bit of planning, and it doesn't actually have to cost hardly anything to do some of these things. And I think it's really important because it makes it feel like your day rather than just a bog standard pick up, drop in a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Makes people feel like they're at your event rather than just any old wedding.
Because we've all been to a wedding, but what makes it your wedding?
Exactly. And it's all the little tiny touches that you do.
What little tiny touches did you do?
So I
I'm
made I handmade all of our invitations and saved the dates and everything. So I think that all, and I followed like the theme of the wedding and the colour scheme using that. So I think that was one personalisation. It took ages, but I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing I did. Another thing we did was we had, so we're kind of a bit geeky. We like Harry Potter and Star Wars and all like the fandom type films. So we did like a bingo. It wasn't really bingo, but we had like bingo cards on everybody's seats.
Mm-hmm.
Had to go around the venue and find all the Easter eggs, if you see what I mean. So I had like a golden slipper that was hidden. Buzz and Woody were up in the rafters. And I think I had about 50 or, no, that's an exaggeration. I had about 15 or 16 of these little Easter eggs. Oh,
Like a treasure hunt.
exactly like a treasure hunt. So that kind of two birds with one stone. One, it was our kind of theme because it was what we're into, but also it's a bit of an activity for people to do between that downtime between the disco starting and dinner finishing. People had something to do. There was a few kids that enjoyed doing it as well, and it got a bit competitive because there was some that were really difficult. So that was something that we did. We also had like a personalized menu. So there's you could like have a his and hers menu, and you get to choose which one you want. We didn't go for the full menu, but we went for puddings. So I picked a pudding, Jordan picked a pudding, and there was like a apple pie and a eat a mess on each table. So you could choose a his or hers pudding.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the night, we see who was the winner with how much was left of each.
Mm-hmm. Was it you?
I won. I had eaten mess. So there was more apple pie or apple crumble, sorry, left than eaten
Was it,
mess.
was it a summer wedding?
Yeah,
Yeah. Who's going to order apple crumble and custard?
exactly.
No. You
Jordan
just.
would eat that 100 times a day though.
Well, he does love custard.
So we did that. Um, what did you do? I did some more, but I can't think right now. But what did you do?
So one of the main things that we did, other than having 2-day wedding, woohoo, we had loads of pictures everywhere. Like loads of pictures. When you walked in next to our welcome sign, there was a picture. When you went over to where we had our cake, there was a picture. There was a series of pictures in frames on the bar. I just wanted to make sure people knew whose wedding it was more than anything. And it's some
Shrine
of
to Jen and Ian.
and it's some of my favorite pictures. I basically lifted them off the walls in my house and took them to decorate the venue. Obviously, the decor was all personalised to our wedding. So my dad and I've covered this off before, but we both, I basically gave him drawings of what I wanted, and then he, with Ian's help and my help, created all of the big chunky pieces of wood that we had to decorate the entire venue. So that was all personalised to the wedding, and now can be yours if you book with us in our little side hustle, Lighting and Lights. Playlist. So I spent a lot of time personalising our playlist with the DJ, and I really wanted everybody to have a good time. So I put in songs that obviously I would never play, but I knew that were like the favourite songs of other people, just from other events and birthdays and weddings that we've all been to before. But I also made sure that there were songs on there that meant something to Ian and I. That was quite important to
I've
us.
on the playlist thing, I've seen you could you know, sometimes you can have a silent disco depending on your venue and what you want from it. Sometimes a silent disco is an option, and they have, you know, you get pick the different channels. They have a his and hers playlist, and then you can see who's sort of, why is it always a competition with me? I've just reflected on that. You can see who's winning by how many people are listening to the blue channel versus the pink channel, or whatnot. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, because some venues you there's limits in sound, isn't there? So a silent disco would be a fun way to make that work.
I don't know if you've ever taken your headphones off at a silent disco, but it
It's
is honestly the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, my cousin had a sort of barbecue in a house, and in the garden they had a silent disco,
Did
just because
they?
it was easier to manage that than trying to get bigger PA into the house. And so they had a silent disco, and they had different channels, and it was and it was like a his and hers, and
Hmm.
it was good fun. But I bet the neighbours must have been like, what is going on?
Hmm. I've been to two silent discos, two very, very different vibes and experiences. So the first one was at the Lincoln Center in New York, and this was during the height of summer. And New York City basically do a load of free events that you can just turn up to. So they'd created an event using event fencing, event staff, blah blah blah. All of the lighting throughout the whole of the Lincoln Center. It's like a massive courtyard. All of the lighting was stunning. They've got this center, like their central location was a water feature. They had a DJ. There was sort of like little dance offs happening in different pockets of people. It was really surreal because New York is obviously quite loud, but everyone had their silent disco headphones on, and if you took them off, all you could hear was some people singing, but not a lot because it was more like house slash trance music, but bearable, not, like some sort of torture. It was bearable trance music and house music, and then you could just hear like people shuffling their feet. It was honestly, it was one of the most magical experiences. The second time was not so magical, because it was at Butlins in Bognor Regis. So not my favourite weekend of all time. And you're walking into this, people are sort of taking off their headphones and handing them back to the event staff, and they're basically taking those headphones and handing them out to the new people walking in. Obviously,
Gross.
I'm a bit of a clean freak, so I'm there sort of wiping with my sanitizer wipes to make sure that I'm not putting on anybody else's crusty old headphones. But the tunes were banging, and we stayed in there for probably 15 minutes.
Amazing.
We
That's good.
I also accidentally, I mean, this wasn't planned, but we had a personalized cocktail because basically I asked the bartender to make me a specific cocktail. He didn't have all the ingredients, so he just created his own, which ended up becoming a Corey Cosmo, which was delicious. But that was by accident. Obviously, the food we had was really personal to Ian and I. So we had pizza buffet, which was amazing, charcuterie starters, and then in the evening it was focaccia sandwiches and mac and cheese balls. And we also we did our own photo booth, but the props then turned into dance floor props. So some of the pictures that we've got of our first few dances with our guests, people are wearing crazy hats, people are using inflatable microphones. It just added a bit more depth and character to those
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, and I think you can do a lot with photo booths, can't you? Because you can hire a photo booth and they come with props. But I think if you're into something, so if you're a travel couple or if you're a bit of a sort of geeky couple, bring props that suit that. So the travel, you can bring palm trees and different things, and if you're a geeky, bring the Harry Potter glasses and that type of thing, so your photos reflect your interests.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really really good way.
Have you ever been to exactly the same wedding but a different couple? Like it's felt like the same wedding, but the couples just changed?
Yeah, it's just it's exactly the same, just one's picked pink and one's picked purple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think people don't think about it
Mm-mm.
because you get so wrapped up in, oh god, need to sign off that menu for the hotel and need to pick a dress, and you kind of go down the Google checklist, that it's not until you're sort of there that you realize that all that's you've all that you've got is some handwritten name places that have
Mm-hmm.
just been printed.
Mm-hmm.
um so it does take some thinking, but it does make it so much better.
Mm. The ones that I went to were probably a couple of months apart. They were at the same venue. They were two very different couples, and the first couple I knew because I'd worked with the bride for like 5 years when we were growing up. So we had the same job between the ages of 16, like 21 or whatever. Um, and then the second one was my brother's wife's friend, who like one of her best friends, and she was getting married, so I was an evening guest. Both evening guest to both weddings, so came in at exactly the same time for both weddings, and the evening food was exactly the same. The venue was obviously exactly the same. The flowers were exactly the same because they were artificial. The DJ was the same. The sort of timings and how the evenings worked were the same. The drinks were the same. The only thing that changed and that was different, apart from the couple, was the light up letters that they put on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So instead of S and P, it was E and J, let's say.
Yeah. And I think it's it's quite easy to do that, because if you pick a venue that does have a really limited menu choice and a really limited supply list, you're not given the freedom to make them decisions.
No.
That's why I think if you really want a personalized wedding and you want to add all of these extra little touches in, like the signature cocktail, like the his and hers puddings, that type of thing, you need to go for a venue that allows you to make them decisions. Because a lot of the big hotels and the more churn, it's a bit more like a conveyor belt of
Hmm.
weddings, they don't give you that option. And so you can either have the beef or the pork, and that's it.
Hmm.
And here's our supplier for flowers, and here's our supplier for light up letters. And then you start saying, oh well, actually I'd quite like a photo booth company to come in. And they're like, well, that's going to be extra because we've got to save,
Hmm.
so picking the venue is key if you want it to be a personalized wedding. If you don't mind and you just want it to be a bog standard and you don't have to think too much, then that's fine. But
I also don't think it's always cheaper to do it that way
yeah.
because they're basically charging you a flat fee for the venue and they throw the same things in that they do for everybody else. And sometimes if you don't, sometimes it is easier. So if you're not into planning and organizing, and if weddings isn't really a thing and you'd rather someone else just looks after it, that's probably quite a good way to go, as you said, Em. But it doesn't always work out the cheapest and most affordable option. They're still charging you a premium for the venue.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most personal wedding you've been to?
Probably yours,
Oh, that's nice.
because like you said, you had them touches about the photos being around. It felt different from the outset, because it was a 2-day wedding. I think it was genius because it was a 2-day wedding and not everybody was at the ceremony. I think the most genius thing that you did was play the video. So you had a big screen, didn't you, and a projector. So everybody went into the venue on the second day. We all took our seats, and before you and your wedding party had sort of walked in, you played a video of, it was a really stylized, really beautifully edited video with some music of the first day. So the guests got to see you get married, which was really personalized because you're into your film and your editing, and so that was really great. And the guests felt part of it. And then you walked in. So it felt like you'd been at the ceremony, even though the majority of the guests hadn't. So I think that was brilliant.
So brilliant that I didn't even write it in my notes. But
I'm here.
And in all honesty, nobody was like, "Oh, I can't believe that you didn't have a ceremony today. Why weren't we there for the whole thing?" Nobody said that.
No.
What better way to enjoy a wedding ceremony than skipping through all the boring bits and watching the highlights reel?
Exactly. It was brilliant. And you've got that now forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't go to your wedding, so my answer can't be your wedding. But my best friend's wedding was the same summer as the 2 weddings that I went to back that were exactly the same.
Okay.
And she had a marquee on some of her family's land. They'd got special permission to park somewhere. She'd asked her auntie to do all of the bunting for the marquee, so she had meters and meters of bunting. Her mum did all of the flower arrangements. She'd done all of the centerpieces herself. She'd done all of the table names herself. As soon as you walked in, there was a personalized welcome sign with pictures of them. Sort of, they've been together forever, so there's pictures of them when they were teenagers, pictures of them growing up. And I just remember thinking that there was so many personalized touches to her wedding. So much detail went into making it their wedding, to the point where even in the groom's speech, he referenced how they have hearts everywhere in their house, and she hung all of the hearts from their house on the backs of the chairs because that's how many they had. And he referenced it in his speech, which I thought was really, really nice. And it really felt like their wedding.
Yeah.
And it was so personal to them.
Yeah. It's really not. It's really nice.
I've also got a couple more examples of very impersonal weddings.
Go for it.
I'm not going to name any names, and I'm really sorry if you recognise this as your wedding. I don't think either the weddings that I'm going to mention, I don't think they listen to the podcast. So I think I'm
in the clear.
pretty safe audience here. So the first one, they basically had no decor, none.
That literally makes me itch.
They had their wedding ceremony at a very reputable hotel chain where you basically pay for a wedding ceremony. It's a bit nicer, possibly, than your local registry office. It wasn't nicer than my local registry office. They had chair covers. They might have had a floral display, but I don't remember. And that was it.
Just empty tables, just with glass, just
Just
cutlery plates and glassware.
basically blank canvas for the ceremony. It looked like you get the blank canvas and then you style it yourself, or you get someone to do that. They didn't do
Rows
that.
of chairs.
Yeah. The venue was a different place, so they didn't have the reception at the hotel. So you had the ceremony and then you made your way to the venue. Stunning venue, smallish barn, really big car park, great outdoor space. There was also an extendable marquee, like extension, which is where all of the tables were. There must have been a seating plan, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
because we obviously had to sit down, and I knew where we were sitting. No centerpieces, no menus, no flowers, no styling, no chair standing, literally not even any music playing while we were eating your food. This was the same wedding that I mentioned probably a few episodes ago about the they had a buffet for their wedding breakfast, and by the time we got to the food, it had basically all gone. And where the Tesco delivery man came through the wedding venue to drop off the evening food, it was that wedding. Just no personalisation, nothing.
No.
The second one, this was quite a while ago. I would say this was probably the worst wedding I've ever been to. The guests were cancelling the morning of. Bearing in mind they probably only invited 40 people, the amount of people that actually sat down, probably 15 people were there.
Oh,
I don't
that's so sad.
I'd only met the bride once, but yet I was there for the ceremony, I was there for the sit down, and they basically hired this room, kind of like a Skittle Alley function room vibes,
Oh, cool. That's quite cool.
at the back of a pub, but all the tables were set for 40 people.
So you just had loads of empty
There was just
seats.
loads of empty seats. No styling, no decor, no music,
Oh, bless them.
no table plan, no name places. I can't even remember if they had a photographer, but they had a vintage car, like an old Rolls Royce for their wedding car, which I thought was a bit strange. Um, it was absolutely diabolical. Just one of those
That's,
moments where you felt embarrassed for them, secondary embarrassment.
yeah, it's sad. I remember at my talking about guests sort of cancelling and not showing up. I didn't really have that at my wedding, but my venue had the main floor where you could sit about 80 people, and then it had two balconies which you could then have tables, and then you could look over the balconies and see everybody. So the people up there were the friends that wouldn't mind being up in the rafters, really. But when the speeches were happening and everything, they could look over, and it was quite a nice vibe. One of the balconies was jam packed. It had a really good vibe because it felt full. The other balcony was slightly bigger, and that happened to be the balcony where two of the couples that I'd invited didn't turn up. So I went up there, when you do your milling around after, and it just felt like they'd been put up there like in the broom cupboard. It was awful. But if everybody had turned up, it would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
But because that was everybody that didn't turn up was on them two tables up there, so it was awful.
Did they say why they didn't turn up?
I think we got some messages, but I didn't really see them on the day because you're not really checking your phone, are you, while you're getting married?
I think that is so rude.
There's got to be a good excuse, isn't there, not to turn up,
Yeah,
even if you're
there's
late.
only one,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah. Or even if you're a couple and one of you doesn't turn up, but the
Yeah.
other one comes to represent.
If you are bedridden,
Yeah,
okay, fine. If you are, if something has happened fatally, okay, fine. Obviously I'll be devastated, but fine. That's it.
yeah,
Otherwise, you could have let me know a week ago or 6 months ago that you weren't coming. Because you knew then that you weren't coming. You just have waited until now because you don't know how to decline an invite politely.
yeah. And then you could, if even if it was the day before, like if you're ill, if you're not going to be able to get childcare, that at least the day before, at least then you can have a little bit of a shifty round,
Hmm.
so that you haven't got the four people that are not going to turn up missing on one table. You can like shift it around a bit, can't you? to make it feel like. But I
Nobody
mean,
cancelled.
if you've only invited 40 people and only 15 turn up, you're not hiding that, are you?
No, there was no hiding that. It was really embarrassing. I also Nobody phoned the morning of my wedding to say that they weren't coming, probably because they knew what kind of response they would get.
Turned
Um,
up, turned up under fear.
but I remember the morning of my best friend's wedding, I stayed over. We were staying at her parents' house. I'd stayed over the night before. I was just sat in the living room with her, super chill. This was like 6 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the glam team to get there, and the phone rings. I was thinking, who the fuck's calling at 6 o'clock in the morning on your wedding day? Her mum answers. It's basically her mum's friend that she called Auntie something or other, who's basically not coming. Why are you calling my family home to tell me that you're not coming on my wedding day? Why are you doing that? Something about how they didn't want to drive the distance or whatever.
Yeah, I think one of mine was
Not
almost
an excuse.
that's how far it is. Oh,
Not an excuse.
you knew
You're
how far it was 2 weeks ago.
you would have had a look to see, right, what time do we have to leave the house? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The other excuses I had were, oh, we've booked a cruise for 2 weeks over your wedding, so won't be going. Can't get too mad about that because it's a holiday. But somebody else said that they weren't coming because, again, another holiday, but it was tied into a professional sport activity. That ended up getting cancelled, and they didn't come anyway.
Fuming.
Lord. So you learn a lot about who cares and who does not care.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the people that you think will care,
Well, yeah, I was
and then the
disappointed.
random people that you've invited because it's quite nice if they're there, but they're not sort of essential.
Mm. And
I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing, and they're the first to arrive, and they're the ones that are the best dressed. It's
yeah,
strange, isn't it?
and the guests that went on the cruise, I was really upset that they weren't going to be there because they've been quite an influential part of my life. You know, in those years that you're sort of growing up in your early 20s and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I just always expected them to be there. Obviously, never had this conversation with them, so you're welcome that I'm having it now.
Therapy.
um, have you got a list of
Oh,
personalisation ideas?
I have. Yeah, I've got a really cool list, and actually, if I was to get married again, I'd pretty much do everything on this list.
Yeah, I think I would do everything on my list too. You go first, Em.
Okay, so should we do it a bit speed roundy?
Speed round.
So, design your invites to match your style and personality.
Yeah.
So, for Harry Potter fans, maybe have the Deathly Hallows on there. Just do it so it matches the style of the wedding and is your personality. I've got
How would you make it so that people don't think it's a fancy dress wedding? Because if I got a Harry Potter invitation, I'd be like, oh God, do we have to wear like robes and stuff?
well, you would just maybe imprint the Deathly Hallows on the corner.
Like a
It
subtle
wouldn't be
nod.
like cartoon. In my head, I would do I love Harry Potter, so I'd get like a little Harry Potter wax seal, something that you could put on it. So it's not like Harry Potter, but there's small elements that sort of nod
Mhm.
to to your interests and hobbies and stuff.
It's not like come to my Harry Potter themed birthday party where fancy dress is compulsory.
No, no. But I mean, could happen.
That
True.
sounds great.
Wedding scent, and I've got that as perfume, so you could go and pick your wedding scents together, or I've got that in the actual wedding scent in your venue. So we
Mhm.
offer a wedding scent package where you can personalize a wedding scent and have all the candles. It's a really nice way to personalize your wedding. I've also got it sort of include your pets in some way, so we've got a
Oh, I've
little
got that
dog.
too.
Have you?
Yeah.
Little dog called Luna, so you could maybe have Luna's bar, You'd have a little image of her on a cocktail stirrer, or little ways like that.
I would definitely do that this
Yeah.
time round.
I mean,
In
you
fact,
could, instead of his and hers cocktails, you could have your dog's cocktails, couldn't you?
that's right. One of them called Kaya and one of them called Callie.
So you could have the Callie martini and the Kaya Cosmo or something. I've got the personalized cocktails, which we've already talked about, but also you can get napkins and beer mats and things printed. So if you
Yeah.
did have Luna's bar, you could maybe make a little emblem and have that printed on the napkins that you get given with your drink and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just have your initials and the date on them. Vowels, I've got personalize your vowels.
Did you personalise your vowels?
No, we just went with bog standard registry office selected vowels.
Do you
You
remember
can
what you said?
no, because you just get a list of 3 options, don't you? And then you click one. That was one of the decisions that I just made without really thinking about it. But I would go back and maybe have a celebrant and
Mm-hmm.
personalize the vowels and that whole ceremony a bit more. I think because it was, even though it was in my venue, it was pretty bog standard.
Mm-hmm. I basically chose the shortest,
Yes.
and then Ian chose his. So we chose from like the ones that they send you. Oh, you could use some of ours that we've pre-printed for you, blah blah blah. It was important to me that I was speaking in front of people as little as possible,
Yeah.
so I chose the shortest one, and then Ian chose the one that he resonated with the most.
But I didn't even realize that there was an option to just do what you wanted. I
Yeah.
just thought them 4 options that the Wiltshire Registry Office sent me was my only options. So I think I just picked the shortest one and the one that didn't refer to any religious type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I just literally had no idea. And I didn't even know that a celebrant was a thing.
No, I didn't either.
And I think that's a really good way to personalize your ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
because, you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can have a cocktail making session at the end. It's amazing. So vows, and you get a celebrant.
Mm-hmm.
I've got add cultural or religious elements into your ceremony. So I saw, I think it was on Instagram, there was a Jewish couple getting married, and he had his cap, and on his cap he had embroidered um, a little emblem and had their initials. So he had his wedding cap, which was
Mm-hmm.
really nice.
That's nice.
Have a custom wax seal, and you can just wax seal your invitations. So you can get your initials on it. It's not actually that expensive to get one of them manufactured, and then you can put it on. Save the date. You can put it on invitations. You can put it on every single name place. You can put it on your seating plan. You can just use it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I've got obviously signage.
Mm-hmm.
Get your signage personalised, whether that's a palette that you've painted yourself or if you've had it printed. And then off the back of that is name your tables. Don't just have table 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're a board game couple, have the different board game names. So one of you's Monopoly, one of you's Risk, or whatever your favourite games are. Or if you're a travel couple, have locations you've been, or if you've got menagerie of animals, call them your animal names. That's
Although, so when I was talking to my team at work today and we were going around saying, oh, what are you up to tonight? Blah, 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 recording the podcast, la, la, la. We started talking about this, and I almost just named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because as a guest, I couldn't tell you, well, my best friend's wedding, I could tell you what the table names were called. But if you ask me anybody else's wedding, no clue.
no.
The
But you
only
would
people
remember.
it matters to is the bride and groom.
Yeah, but you would remember. Oh, do you remember that wedding we went to where they named their tables after all their favourite restaurants. Well, do you remember that table where we were sat at Monopoly?
I don't think I would, no.
No, wouldn't you? And then, but on the back of that, if you name it and it is like a board game, put that board game on the table.
Well, yeah, that can be the start of your centerpiece. Put
Yeah.
the board game on the table with your vase and flowers.
Or if you're a bookish couple and you've got they're named after your tables and one of them's Pride and Prejudice, put the book on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it is named after a pet, put a picture of the pet on the table. So it can start to sort of add to the theme of your wedding and
Mm-hmm.
add elements in. I think it's brilliant. I've got, this one I found online and I absolutely love it. They're called shoe notes.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this?
This is actually on my list.
So you get given each other's shoe, and then so if you're the bride, you write a shoe note on the sole of his shoe. It could be a love letter, it could be what you like about them, it could be your favorite poem or anything. And then he does the same for you, and so you wear the shoes with their secret notes on the bottom. And so I think that's amazing. It's like quite nobody would really know it's there apart from you two, but
I feel like something like this happened at my sister's wedding. It was something like Mrs. McDonald, which is her now surname, but I feel like she left it to the groom to do that, and he'd put the words the wrong way
oh
round.
no.
So it was McDonald Mrs. as
Oh,
you read it.
well, that's faux pas. Don't leave anything to.
Unless I dreamt that, but I'm pretty sure that did happen.
Yeah, because you can have it, can't you, where you have your initials on the bottom of your shoes. So if you are in a ceremony where you have to kneel, your
Hmm.
shoes obviously poke out the back so that everybody can see and you can have your initials and stuff. But this is a bit more, it's literally a handwritten note on the bottom of their shoes. So it does rub up unless you put plastic over the top, like you would protect your Louboutins with.
Hmm.
It will rub off, but it's more of a when you're getting dressed and getting ready type of thing. It makes some really cute photos.
We didn't do anything like that. Like, Ian and I didn't write each other a note or
No,
do cards or anything like that.
no, neither did we, but I
Mm.
do love it.
Me too.
We got the one where you've got your personalised hangers and robes, talking about the getting ready part.
Hmm.
The name on the back of your robe and your name or your initials with the date on your hanger for your dress and things.
On that one, I just wrote monogram everything.
Everything.
Napkins, the bar, your bag,
Yeah.
your I don't know, your chair sat. Literally monogram every single thing that touches your wedding.
Yes.
Because you
I
might keep
agree.
that. If you've got 16 monogrammed napkins, I'd be keeping those.
Yeah, and also you that doesn't need to be that expensive because that sounds like, oh, we're gonna have to pre-order, we're gonna have to get these specially made. But you don't necessarily. One, if you own one of them cutting machine, like vinyl cutting machines, you could do that yourself.
Hmm.
And two, you don't actually have to buy the napkins with the initials already on. You could just go to a company on Etsy who does that kind of thing and just say, will you cut and send me 50 of this?
Hmm.
And then you can just iron them onto your napkins yourself. So it doesn't need to be that expensive.
I would 100% do that. I would
Yeah.
monogram everything.
Yeah, me too.
But the challenging thing is Ian and I don't have the same surnames, so you'll either be a JB or an IR. That's it. There's no BRs or RBs.
Yeah. That is tricky for you.
It would just be JBs and I wouldn't tell anyone about it. Anything else then on your list?
We've talked about the bride and groom menu. Uh, uh, I've also got here, like, if you're having games and, that kind of entertainment-y type thing. So if you've got a ping pong table or a Skittles alley or something, You could do teams where you pick whose team you want to be in, and then rack up the points to see who wins. I love to I'm going to win my wedding. Thank you.
What do you actually win at all these things that you're doing at your wedding? Like, are there prizes?
Just
or
kudos.
Yeah.
Just to say I'm better than you. Don't forget it, mate.
I'd
I
rather
picked the
prizes.
best. I picked the best dessert. Now 10 years on, don't forget that I won the dessert competition. We're not entering a partnership. We're entering a competition.
We're entering war. Shall I run through a few of mine?
Yes.
Similar to the wax stamp, custom crest or coat of arms.
Love it.
So I've talked about her a lot this episode. My best friend had a custom crest designed for her wedding, bringing in her family heritage and her husband's family heritage, had this crest designed based on their family history and ancestry, blah, blah, blah. They used it on their invitations, they used it at their wedding. And it was just I'd never seen anything like that before.
No. And I bet you could get AI to do that for you now. So
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't even have to get someone to design it. And then you could get it printed on everything. You could get a wax seal made of it. You could get paper press so that it was like pressed onto everything.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, I do too.
We've already talked about silent disco, so I won't go over that again. Family photo wall, so we sort of touched on that, but really making a point of having either your family with your partner, so if you've got kids or if you've got dogs or whatever else you've got, or incorporate family members that can't be there, lost loved ones, etc. And there's different ways that you can do that. So you could literally just have it on a table, or you could create a visual using different crates or palettes or whatever style your wedding is.
We do that, don't we?
Yes, we do that. So take a look at our @Lichen and Lights Instagram page for inspiration or bookings. Polaroid name cards and table plan. So the table plan, you would just obviously have table plan, and then you'd have a Polaroid of either you and the guest or a picture of the guest that you have. Put it all onto all of the people onto Polaroids, gives them what table number they are or table name. Then when they get to their seat, they have a copy of that Polaroid as their place card.
That's cute.
I think I would do that if I was to do it again. Creating your own wedding rings.
Nice.
So you can also get engravings, and so if you just got like bog standard gold or silver wedding ring, platinum, whatever you want, you could then have an engraving in it, which I quite like the idea of. Thought that was quite nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Picking a venue that means something to you both.
Yeah.
So really
that's harder said than done, but if you can do that, that's perfect, isn't it?
So if, for example, you've got access to, I don't know, grounds, your family have got a big farm or something, or you're lucky enough that someone's got a big garden, and it means something to you.
Yeah.
Or in the place that you grew up, or in the place that you met, or try to make a connection if you can.
Yeah. Also, if you don't have access to something personal in that respect, if you're an outdoorsy couple, maybe pick a more outdoorsy, rusticy type venue. If you're like a bit of a bougie couple and like the luxury side of things, pick a more luxurious. So when people walk in, it does feel a bit like you, and you're not an outdoorsy couple that wear your wellies all the time, trying to fit in a sparkly hotel.
Because that's just not you.
No.
Unique cake toppers.
Yes.
So
your sister had this, didn't she?
Yeah. My best friend's wedding, she had Moomins. She had like her cake topper was Moomin bride and a Moomin with the top hat.
Perfect. Do they like
So,
roommates?
she loves Moomins, like 38 years ago. No, she's not 38, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But when she saw it, she was like, what we discussed. And then my sister had full on terrifying figurines made.
That looked exactly like them. And it had the dress that she had on. So it was like a snapshot of them on the day.
Yeah. Did it look like them in the face though? I'm not quite.
Well, there is limitations to what you can do with icing. So
I just had a it was basic because obviously we not obviously, but as we've discussed before, I didn't really go all out on the cakes. I don't want to spend like £700 on something that I didn't want anybody else to touch. So I just bought one from Ginger Ray, I think it was, and it was just like a sort of like a circle vine, and it just said love through the middle, and it was gold.
it's like acrylic, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we didn't
all.
we
That's all
didn't
we
have a
wanted.
need cake topper. But you can get them made, can't you? That has your I mean you could have it made with the crest of arms and all sorts.
Or your exact selves in icing.
You can also talking about cakes, you could pick your colours. That's not what I meant to say at all. Pick your flavours.
Flavors.
Yeah. So you could oh my god, I'm going to the competition thing. Literally again. You could
Ah,
have a his and hers layer and see which one people like the best. Or you could just have one that wasn't a competition, but I wouldn't know how to curate that. So
it is really boring. So he'd be like, "Oh, let's have fruitcake." No, I don't know. No, who? No, we
I
want
think I had
no.
a lemon. I had 3 layers. I think I had a lemon layer because that's my favourite. We had a normal sponge layer, which was the biggest one at the bottom, just because it's safe to have for most people. And then we had the chocolate one, which was Jordan's favourite thing.
I think that's nice.
But that was like an unconscious decision that we made, but it is a way to personalise your wedding, isn't it?
I just had carrot cake with frosting and ate the whole thing in the weeks after my wedding. I don't even know if it had any. DIY dessert station.
Nice.
Nice way to personalize. You can also rope in helpers, or you could do it all beforehand, freeze it all, then defrost it all, that kind of thing. Like if your vibes are eaten mess and apple crumble and blah blah blah, you can really create a personalized dessert station to you and your partner.
Yeah, my cousin had because it was I do barbecue. They had a dessert table and people were asked to bring something. So we had Nana's famous trifle. We had um all things that people had brought, and they were known for making. So it was really nice because
Was there
everything
then
was.
a judging contest with scorecards and winners?
Unfortunately, no, they weren't going for the competition vibes.
They didn't take any of your ideas.
But that is, if you are doing a bit more of a DIY wedding, the dessert table is a way you can rope in people to help.
Yeah,
You did that, didn't you? Because you
yeah.
had Tyler make, Tyler from last week's episode made the brownies that sat underneath the fruitcake you had.
Yeah, not
Carrot
fruitcake.
cake.
Ian didn't get his way in. No way, Jose. We talked about dance floor props, so I won't go over that again. Personalized wedding favors. So I've talked about it before, but I just ordered a kilo of personalized M&Ms that fitted sort of in the color scheme as close as I could get them. On one side, it had one of my favorite pictures of Ian and I, and then on the other side, it said just married because I didn't want to put the date on there in case we had to postpone because of COVID. So I thought,
Clever.
if I'm going to pay £300 for a kilo of personalised M&Ms or whatever it was, I don't think it was quite £300. Then I want to be able to use them, so I
Yeah.
don't put a date on there.
Yeah. But also, if you're the favors can be really personalised. If you're a boozy couple, put a little bottle of gin in. If you're, an artistic couple,
Mm-hmm.
put a little something that people can colour in. You can do all sorts of things like that.
If you're a competitive couple, you put some
Put a
sort of
score sheet
game.
in.
Make your own bunting, but I've already mentioned that with my best friend's wedding. Serve your favourite late night snack as your evening food.
25 bowls of crisps. Yum.
When I wrote this, I thought, "Oh, I don't really know what my favourite late night snack is. I like different things at different times of the year. So at the moment, I'll be starting to buy my hot chocolates so I can make extravagant hot chocolates during Christmas. At the moment, I'm all about the natural yogurt, fruit, and Cocoa Pops combo. It's not really wedding vibes.
But you could make them cute. You could put Cocoa Pops on the bottom of like a nice glass.
And, occasionally I'll have a bit of popcorn if we're watching a movie, or I'll just go full blown piece of cake with some extra thick double cream.
Yeah. We would need a vat of midget gems for Jordan
Mm-hmm.
and just a
Correct.
whole pile of assorted crisps. That's giving sort of child vibes, isn't it?
Like, what do people eat as like a late night snack? Ice cream?
McDonald's.
Yeah, good point. Depends
Just
what time of
Deliveroo.
night. Yeah.
70 Happy Meals. I mean, that would be epic, really, wouldn't it? As people are leaving, you hand them a Happy Meal box. Enjoy.
I mean, I would remember that. I'm not going to remember what my table was called, but I will remember my takeaway Happy Meal
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh God, I would 100% do that.
Such a good idea.
11:30, get 70 Happy Meals delivered, and as a parting gift, you give the drunk people a Happy Meal.
That would be the best wedding ever.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to remember anything else apart from that specific moment.
Yeah, because they'll wake up with it like all smudged around their face, won't they?
Or in their car footwell, or breadcrumbs leading up to their front door. Nothing else on my list.
No, but there'll be hundreds of things you could do.
So many.
Yeah, and just do them. Don't worry that if you want to I literally can't think of anything. But if you want to do something that's really personal to you and you want everybody to do the Macarena because it's both your favourite things, do it.
Mm.
Don't worry about what anybody's going to think. Just
force them to do a routine on the dance floor.
if you want there to be an actual artist on the day doing a big oil painting of you in your like you're both sat on a throne, do it.
I don't really get that because you can get people to come and do. I've seen people that you basically get an artist to come with a blank canvas and they help your guests create a painting.
Yeah.
The only time when I've seen this attempted was at my sister's now husband's 30th birthday, where she'd put "Happy Birthday, Phil" or whatever it said, and then everybody signed the canvas.
Yeah.
People don't sign the canvas.
They
People
do.
want to draw a penis on it,
Yeah.
and then they want to put all of the most awful swear words you've ever heard on there.
Yeah, I did something a bit like this. It wasn't like somebody didn't come in and monitor it, because if you get an artist coming in, they do monitor it, so you do end up with a nice piece of art because they're there telling them not to draw a penis and sorting it out.
I guarantee somebody will draw a penis.
Yeah, I
The
did.
artist needs the toilet at some point, and there will be a penis on that canvas.
Yeah, they will. Because I had my friend who's really good artist. She, Up, the film with the flying house with the balloons.
With Mr. Fredrickson, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, I had her draw the house. And then we put plastic around most of it, apart from where the balloons went, and then I had like loads of ink that you could then do your fingerprints to make the balloons.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It was really cute. Apart from there was not enough people to fill it up, so it looks like it should be sinking because there's like only 80 balloons. And some people had done like part once. And I was like, no, that's can't use that now, can I? You've just ruined that for me.
Ruined, yeah.
But I've still got it. It's protected up in the loft, but you need somebody there telling people to do more than one fingerprint, because people just do one and then off they go. I like the artists that go and they draw like a really stylized, quick sketch of the guests. Have you seen that?
No.
That's quite nice, and they can take it away.
Like a caricaturist?
Well, no, they're a bit more classic and a bit more stylized.
Okay.
They're quite pretty. But if you're into art and stuff, do it.
Just have a penis monitor. Please like, subscribe, rate, review our podcast on whatever platform you listen or watch us on. Massive thank you to everyone who joins us every week, and please get involved with next week's topics. We're going to be talking all things proposals next week. So we really want to hear about your proposal. How did you get engaged? How did it happen? Is there a story to it? We'll be popping a couple of question boxes up on our Instagram story. So please get in touch using those boxes. Or if it's a longer story, then just pop us a DM. And please use our at the I Do Crew podcast Instagram account. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
You've been listening to the I Do Crew podcast with Jen and Emma. Keep up to date with our podcast news by following our I Do Crew podcast Instagram account. Thanks for listening.